The All-Star break is right around the corner, and nobody deserves the recognition more than Cade Cunningham, who's having a fantastic fourth season in the NBA. He's got the Detroit Pistons at a record above 500, and we're in late January. The Pistons are on pace to win more than 30 games for the first time since 2019, and it's because Cade Cunningham is finally coming into his own. And I don't care how many people try to rewrite history, there were definitely those around the league who believed that Cunningham wouldn't live up to the pressure that comes with being the #1 overall pick, which is exactly what Cade Cunningham was for the Detroit Pistons back in 2021. And this man has a bit of an interesting story. You see, in his rookie year, while he did play well and put up some solid numbers, getting about 17.4 points a night, having 5.5 rebounds, 5.5 assists, 1.2 steals, 0.7 blocks, he didn't win Rookie of the Year. And a large part in that had to do with his efficiency, because he was shooting 41% from the field and 31% from the three-point line. And it also didn't help that the Pistons didn't have much success at all his rookie season. They only had 23 wins back in the 2022 season. And when his competitors, like a Scotty Barnes and Evan Mobley, were either making the play-in or the playoffs on better efficiency, well, Cade Cunningham just isn't going to get the Rookie of the Year nod. But that doesn't mean he had a disappointing season. He was one of the first key building blocks for the Pistons rebuild. There's a reason Detroit has been straight ass for more than half a decade. When you're a place like Detroit, you're not going to attract any free agents whatsoever, which means you need to build through the draft. But when you miss on draft pick after draft pick, you're not going to have a good team. If we were to take a look at some of the first round picks leading up to Cade Cunningham, you'd see why this team is bad. 2014, no first round pick. 2015, Stanley Johnson, bust. 2016, Henry Ellenson, bust. 2017, Luke Kennard, solid, but he ends up leaving the team anyway. Sekou Demboya, 2019, trash. 2020, Killian Hayes, awful. None of those guys are on the team anymore, and that's because they didn't do what the Pistons drafted them to do. However, things change when the lottery gods finally lean in their favor and they land the first overall pick in 2021. And since then, it's been hit after hit for Detroit. It feels as though Cade Cunningham truly was the missing piece for this franchise. There's finally a face to represent Detroit basketball. And we'll talk more about Cade Cunningham and the Pistons in a second. But for right now, I just wanted to remind you guys to slow down, like the video, and subscribe to the channel. We're on the road to 10,000. Every subscription is greatly appreciated, so please subscribe. But anyway, after drafting Cade Cunningham, their first round picks have been solid. 2022, they get Jaden Ivey. He's been a good role player. 2023, they land Ausar Thompson. Ausar Thompson is going to be a great starter alongside Cade Cunningham for years to come. And most recently, they get Ron Holland, whose future looks very bright. And this upward momentum really started once Cade Cunningham arrived. Now, in his sophomore season, it was looking to be even better than the year before. In the games that he played, he averaged about 20 points, had 6 rebounds, 6 assists, and his blocks were about the same. His shooting percentage, however, didn't take the jump that the Pistons would want. But we didn't get to see much of Cade Cunningham in year 2 because after 12 games, he had a left shin injury that would require surgery and would miss the rest of the 2023 season, cutting his sophomore year short and leading to the Pistons having another disappointing season because in 2023, the Pistons only managed to win 17 games, which was even less than the year prior. However, 2024 looked to be a year of change for Detroit basketball. The team would go out and hire former NBA Coach of the Year, Monty Williams, to a 6-year deal worth $78.5 million, and this new contract was fully guaranteed. Now, it looked as though Monty Williams would finally be the coach to get the most out of Cade Cunningham. And all things considered, Cunningham had a pretty good year individually, right? Because in 2024, Cade Cunningham would go out and average a career-high 22.7 points a night, a career-high 7.5 assists, 4.3 rebounds, and nearly 1 steal a game, all while shooting much better. This is where Cade Cunningham saw the most improvement, was his efficiency, because he would shoot 45% from the field and 35% from the three-point line. Still room for growth, but I mean, when you're Cade Cunningham, it's nice to finally get things figured out when it comes to getting your shot down in the NBA. And while Cade Cunningham did play 62 games this go around, the team didn't get better. In fact, they had one of the longest losing streaks in NBA history, as the team would tally off 28 straight losses. And that kind of performance, along with only winning 14 games on the season, is what would get Monty Williams fired after just 1 year. And when you remember that his contract was fully guaranteed, the Pistons are going to have to continue to pay this guy more than $50 million, all while he is not the head coach of the team anymore. And last season was nothing short of a deflating year for the organization, because they finally felt as though they were heading in the right direction, only to win 14 games. And with Monty Williams out the door, someone needed to come in and replace him. And I think they got a great replacement in JB Bickerstaff, who had spent the last few seasons as the head coach of the Cleveland Cavaliers and was able to help rebuild that team. Now, the only reason the Cavaliers got rid of him is because it felt as though the Cavs couldn't get over the hump that they reached in the playoffs, so a new direction was needed and they didn't want to trade any of their core pieces, which meant that JB Bickerstaff had to go. And he finds himself in Detroit, where the team is playing much better under JB Bickerstaff. Not only is the team playing great, but so is Cade Cunningham, who deserves to be an all-star and probably will be considering how he's played. He's gone out and averaged a career high 24.3 points a night, a career high 9.4 assists, a career high 6.5 rebounds. You get the point, right? He's having career high in all major statistical categories, is shooting 45% from the field again, and his three-point percentage has even managed to improve in his 4th year, as he's averaging nearly 37% from beyond the arc. And that's truly a great season for Cade Cunningham, and not only is he having individual success this go around, but he's also having team success, because like I alluded to earlier, the team has a winning record and we're in January. And when you compare that kind of success to last season, that's exactly where you want to be. Now, currently the Pistons are the 9th seed. However, the East is extremely weak, and there's a real possibility that not only does this Detroit team sneak into the play-in, they could make the playoffs as a 6th seed and avoid the play-in as a whole. And if the Pistons are able to do that, then JB Bickerstaff will be paid for life, because the money this organization is going to throw just to keep him will be astronomical. And if I were the Pistons, I would make a move at the deadline to kind of just push them over the hump and get them into the playoffs, because I do think that while this team is playing great, there's definitely areas where they could still improve their roster. I can finally say with 100% certainty that the future is looking bright for Detroit basketball, and it's all because of Cade Cunningham. Now, if Cade Cunningham doesn't make an all-star team this year, then it's very clear that the NBA hates small market teams and doesn't know how to market their youngest up-and-coming stars, because that is a conversation happening around the NBA, and I'll cover that in another video. So stay tuned to the channel. Like I said, like the video and subscribe to it. It goes a long way. I'll catch y'all later. Much love. Deuces.